Kazuya's grandfather tells Souma that people have families, so that they don't die alone. As Souma's parents and grandmother had died, after he dies, Souma will become alone. He tells Souma to start a family and keep them safe. Not long after that, Kazuya's grandfather dies, and Souma ends up alone. Facing a dilemma and wondering what to do, Elfrieden Kingdom's king and his ministers decide to summon a hero. They start the procedure and activate a big summoning circle covering the kingdom, and end up summoning Souma, who was at a library at that moment. They bring Souma to the king, who thanks him for answering their call. But Souma is annoyed as he didn't answer anything and got dragged into this world, but decides to listen to what they have to say, before getting angry. In the supercontinent Landia, many races had made it their home, forming a number of countries. However, 10 years ago at the northernmost end of Landia, a void opened and monsters arrived from the demon world, causing a big war. Some nations united to fight the monsters, but ended up losing, and eventually the monsters took 1/3 of the continent, which territory became known as Demon Lord's Domain. As the monsters are divided due to the expansion of the battle line, the rest of the nations were able to keep their ground. Souma hopes they don't intend to make him fight the monsters, but learns that they intend to send him to Grand Chaos Empire, instead of the financial aid they had been requested. Since Grand Chaos Empire shares a large border with the Demon Lord's Domain, they are one of the main armies who fight the demons, and had requested financial support from those that do not share borders with the demons. Since refugees fled from the northern part, the Elfrieden Kingdom is barely able to feed all and cannot pay the financial aid. However, there is a special clause that allows them to summon a hero and send him instead. Souma wonders what a hero is, and is explained that the hero is said to lead revolution into a new age, but don't know more about it. Souma wonders if Grand Chaos Empire may wish to dissect him to find what makes him a hero, and the king and his minister deny it, but that only makes it sound even more possible. Souma wonders what to do and asks if the empire will make more requests, and the prime minister believes they will keep requesting as long as there are monster attacks. Souma then asks if they can summon other people, and is explained that the last time they summoned a hero was 500 years ago, and they are unable to summon very often. As he figures he is important, he questions them if they can do something as foolish as to send him now. Souma then wishes to see the finances of the kingdom and improve them to strengthen the nation and reject the imperial demands. Souma, the Prime Minister Marx, and the King Albert Elfrieden spend 3 days reviewing the finances. After which, Souma is surprised to hear the king abdicate the throne to give it to Souma, and announce an engagement between Souma and his daughter Licia Elfrieden. The news reached the 3 dukes that lead the kingdom's armed forces, Castor Vargas, Excel Walter, and Georg Carmine, who are surprised. Licia rushes to return home, thinking the throne is usurped, but learns that Albert had abdicated himself as he believes Souma is more fit to rule the kingdom. Albert informs her that it's up to her if she will marry Souma, but should at least meet him first. Licia goes to Souma, who saw her as fresh manpower, and learning she can read, he wants her to help out. But Licia reveals she is the princess, and wonders how he took the throne. Souma explains that Albert just gave it to him, and all he was trying to do is look after his safety. After looking at the finances, Souma believed they may make him oversee the financial management, but not take over the throne. Souma reveals that there is no need for them to marry, and that he intends to give up the throne to her in a few years after he brings the country's finances back on track. Licia wonders if he can really fix the finances in a few years, and about the current situation with the financial aid. But Souma states he had already secured the money by selling the national treasures. He explains he kept those that are with high historic or cultural value, and split the items in 3, with historic or cultural value, which will be more beneficial to be displayed in a museum, with no historic or cultural value that he sold, and the remaining are magical items which felt like weapons, and he decided to not sell them. Excel Walter decides to send Canaria to check how capable the new king is. Souma intends to pay the empire the last possible day. Licia wonders why not keep the money and distribute them to the military, as he intends to strengthen the country. However, Souma explains that they need time and strengthening their military won't solve the food shortage and refugee issues, and eventually they will lose support of the people and outside forces may instigate an uprising. Landia is a world full of magic and unusual creatures. A lot of the monsters are used for flying, pulling cars, or ships. Magic is used in everyday life, like lighting a fire for cooking. The world lacks science and technology is not very high level, with feudal systems still in place. Souma is informed that summoned heroes are sometimes imparted with magic, and they need to do a magic check. He is taken to a gargoyle-like small statue, which if he touches will tell in his mind what nature of magic he may have. As he touches it, the statue shines, and Souma learns he can use magic, but wonders of what use it can be to him. Licia enters Suma's office and is surprised to see people working there. She notices pens moving on their own and write documents and realizes it's Suma's magic. Souma explains that his magic living poltergeists allows him to copy his consciousness into objects and freely control them. With that, he is able to deal with paperwork faster. Licia asks about the other people in his office, and Souma explains that they are looking for untapped money. If there are wasted spending or misappropriation disguised as spending, and will be getting the responsible parties pay back the missing amount or be arrested. Even though they have already found enough money to pay the empire, they can never have enough capital or manpower, and he makes Licia help him with the paperwork. They spend the whole night working, and early in the morning. Souma is the only one still working, while the rest, including Licia, had fallen asleep. He approaches Licia, who then awakens. He informs her that they have finished working and wishes to show her something. They take a horse, but as Souma doesn't know how to ride, Licia sits in front. Licia wonders if Souma has a family in the other world, and Souma explains he has none left as his grandfather died before he got here. But as there is no one waiting for him, he isn't in a rush to return home. Souma takes her to a field full of white cotton flowers. Licia finds them pretty, but Souma comments that these inedible fields are the reason for the country's food shortage. Souma explains that northern countries produced a lot of cotton, but as the war started and the Demon Lord's domain expanded, their production plummeted. With supplies dropping, the purchase price increased and farmers stopped growing food, and instead started growing cotton. You can still import food from other countries, but the cotton prices crashed as other countries also started producing cotton instead of food, so the supply grew larger than the demand. Souma wanted Licia to know this, as one day she will lead the country. During breakfast, Souma states that their first step should be limiting the planting of commercial crops and bringing back the food crop fields. Souma wishes to prioritize soybeans and potatoes as they can withstand inclement weather. As agricultural reforms don't happen fast, Souma states that the kingdom will be buying all food and then sell it to people for cheaper, and he wants to compensate the difference with something that they can export. They are joined by Ludwin Arx, captain of the Royal Guards. Ludwin asks Souma if the reforms are going smoothly, but Souma states they aren't, as aside from Prime Minister Marx, the rest of the human resources aren't of any use. Souma wishes to use the gemstone broadcast system for recruits and reach out to the whole country. Licia explains that normally they recruit new people either through personal connections or by a written exam. However, only about 30% of the population can read. Souma disagrees with this system as it excludes 70% of potential workers, who may do certain jobs even if they can't read or write. Souma decides to use Kowtow's words and broadcasts that if someone possesses an aptitude, they will make use of it. As Souma gives speech, he states that the former king was a great ruler for peaceful times, but in the current situation, they don't need a saint, but a survivor who is tenacious, and because of that, their former king chose him. Souma states that they need talents who are second to none, and it doesn't matter what their social stature, age, ethnicity, education, or place of origin is. There may be talents that people will wonder if there will be of any use, but Souma will decide if he needs their talent or not, and it doesn't matter if others say it's useless. Souma then states that if they can demonstrate their talent is unequaled in all the kingdom, he will issue a certificate of peerlessness and grant them a monetary reward. People are also allowed to recommend others and will get 30% of their monetary reward. As he ends the broadcast, people cheer in excitement. People from different places of the kingdom start to pack their bags and leave towards the capital.